Senator Block, you waived presentation on SB 298 and 332, correct?
That's correct.
So you'll be presenting on SB 191, which is also a suspense candidate. Please
That's
proceed.
correct. SB 191, jointly authored by myself and Senator Vidak. It's a transportation bill. It funds transportation to and from school districts, and that's critical in this state. In terms of importance, it's really right up there with good teachers and with quality schools. Obviously, if students can't get to school, they can't learn. School district funding for transportation has been locked into the amounts they received in the early 1980s. Since that time, population, demographics, transportation costs have all changed dramatically. Less populated areas then are now population centers like the Inland Empire. Other populated regions have seen their student attendance decline. Today, school districts are busing greater numbers of students than ever over longer distances than when the reimbursement formula was created. The LAO concluded in a recent study that the reimbursement rates for school transportation are outdated and inequitable. SB 191 would raise the home-to-school reimbursement rate for California's most severely underfunded school districts up to 50% over a 7-year period and provide an annual cost of living adjustment for transportation funding for all school districts. This would be paid out of Prop 98 funding. The funding equalization would be implemented over a period of years from 2015-16 until 2021-22. Full implementation would coincide with full implementation of the local control funding formula. The most recent data available from the California Department of Education indicates that school districts spent over $1.2 billion transporting students. In 2012-13, districts received less than $492 million in state funding. The deficit then has to be covered with funding intended for the classroom, cheating students and teachers out of what really is needed, very necessary to teach students. It hits rural and growing districts harder than others. SB 191 addresses the one major remaining inequity in school funding by extending the same principles of equity in LCFF to transportation fundings. There are 2 recommended amendments at the end of the analysis that I accept as author's amendments and will work with the committee to develop language on those amendments. The bill is supported by numerous education groups and districts. Supporters include the California School Board Association, the sponsor, the California School Employees Association, School District Transportation Coalition, the California Association of School Transportation Officials, the Rural County Representatives of California, Central Valley Education Coalition, California Association of Suburban School Districts, California Association of School Business Officials, and AFSCME, and again, among many others. I understand that SB 191 is a candidate for suspense, and I would request an aye vote to remove it from suspense when the suspense calendar is heard. I have witnesses here with me to testify.
Thank you, Senator Block, for not reading the entire support list. Witnesses in support.
Mr. Chairman, members, Jeff Frost, representing the California School Boards Association and the California Association of Suburban School Districts. As Senator Block has articulately outlined, when this legislature addressed the LCFF and created a different stream of revenue, getting away from categoricals, you consciously chose to keep this individual categorical program. It is really the last component of the LCFF that is inequitable in terms of the vision of how you want those revenues to flow. This bill would really take care of that last inequity. It would get districts that are funded 7, 8, 10, 15 cents on the dollar up to 50%, which, as Senator Block indicated, would allow them really to focus their supplemental and concentration grant revenues on the poorest kids for classroom needs, not transportation. We're in support.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Senator Lara, members of the committee. My name is Mike Ray. I'm the Executive Director of West County Transportation Agency, a joint powers agreement in Sonoma County, but I'm also a member of the California Association of School Transportation Officials and the School Transportation Coalition. As you've heard today, school transportation funding is the worst funded element in the education budget. Right now, approximately 35% of the funding for pupil transportation is received by districts in the state, with the remainder being covered by classroom budgets. Special ed transportation is mandated under federal law, and there's been no federal dedicated funding for that. So it's an even greater burden and a growing burden on school districts in the state. Last year, as you heard, the Legislative Analyst's Office studied school transportation, verified these facts, and determined that one of the options was to fund school transportation at a level of 50%, which is what this bill is based on. SB 191 also resolves the uncertainty of funding for joint powers agreements, continues the valuable collection of school transportation data, and ensures that school districts will be able to continue to offer a reasonably funded program that adheres to state law and regulations and maintains student safety and ensures that students can access their educational opportunities. I also wanted to point out that one of the recommended amendments by the committee was to clarify the definition of approved transportation costs. And frankly, an education code and a very robust system over several decades has been in place by the State Department of Education, identifying exactly what those approved transportation costs are. So it's already there. We urge your support of SB 191.
Thank you. Additional witnesses.
Cindy Hillary on behalf of the 34 rural counties in California. This is a critical bill for access to education in rural counties. Many of our students sit on a school bus for 3 hours a day. In rural California, the geographic and topography challenges because of the weather and because of the rural road situation, getting to school. We can talk about curriculum and we can talk about infrastructure and we can talk about how we're going to train our teachers, but if we can't get our kids to school, we cannot educate them. So this is a critical bill for our students and we are in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support.
Martin Ward with the Mid-Placer Public Schools Transportation Agency in support of 191.
Thank you.
Morris Fusilier, CEO of Antelope Valley Schools Transportation Agency, in support of the bill.
Michael Hulsizer on behalf of the 47 school districts in Kern County in strong support.
Jeff Bach, representing the California Association of School Business Officials in strong support.
Leticia Garcia with Riverside County Schools in support.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Finance.
We don't have a position on this bill, but we would note that if the bill intends to replace former transportation funding that was incorporated into LCFF and limits it to only those schools currently receiving funding, the total implementation costs over 7 years would be approximately $1.2 billion. Proposition 98 General Fund. However, if, as I think I understand from Senator Bloch's presentation, to the extent this bill intends to provide new transportation funding to all schools, this bill could result in costs of approximately $4.9 billion, Proposition 98 General Fund, over the 7-year implementation period.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? Senator Bell.
Yes, just a question on the issue of going through the allocations and the equalization. Does this change any of the dollar amounts or reduce any of the dollar amounts that any of the school districts would receive?
Senator Bell, Jeff Frost with CSBA. No, it would not. These would all be new revenues. All of the allocations that exists now, regardless of what your percentage is, would remain the same.
Okay, so if this bill passes, no school district will receive less money.
That's correct.
Okay, so I think that's okay, but if that changes, I think that changes the whole opinion about the bill. If it starts to we have
it's not a zero
winners or losers. That would not be.
Our goal is only to equalize up, not to reduce anyone's existing allocation.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, Senator Bloch, would you like to close?
Just asked when the suspense calendar comes up, there's an aye vote to remove.
Thank you. Without objection, we'll move this bill to suspense.
Thank you.
Senator Vienkowski. Proszę.
This is your sixth to last bill. It's the Environmental Qualities Omnibus Bill that makes technical and clarifying changes to the Recycling Market Development Zone, or the RMDZ program, and the Architectural Paint Recovery Program. This is 662 on your
Thank you,
on your
Senator
dial.
There's a motion. Witnesses in support.
Lauren De Valencia, representing the American Coatings Association, California Paint Council, and also on behalf of Paint Care and Support, specific to the provisions that change the annual report deadline by 1 month. We think this is a simple fix and urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Department of Finance.
We're neutral on this bill and don't see any additional state costs.
Thank you. Comments or questions from committee? Members, this is a due pass recommendation. We do have a motion by Senator Hill. Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to the Senate floor. Lara?
Aye.
Lara, aye. Bates? Aye. Bates, aye. Bell? Bell, aye. Hill? Aye. Hill, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. Mendoza? Nielsen?
We're going to keep this item open to allow other members to add on. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Who are we missing? Yeah. Sworn. If we can have sergeants call Senator Monning, Senator Canella, and I understand Senator Williams is presenting for. They're asking for Senator Wolk. And then we have also Senator Mitchell, Senator Jackson, Senator Stone, and Senator Pan that want to present on the suspense items, so we can have them come to committee as soon as possible. Meanwhile, members, we're going to go on the items that we've waived, that have been waived presentations, just to get support and opposition if there's any from folks here today. We're going to begin with file item with SB 6 by Senator Galgiani. Witnesses in support of the measure, if you can please come forward.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is John Lovell. I'm here on behalf of the California Narcotic Officers Association, who are the sponsors of the bill, and a whole host of other law enforcement bill groups that have joined in support. And if I went through the whole list, we'd be here for about 45 minutes, but we're in
Appreciate
support.
you not doing that. Additional witnesses in support of SB 6.
Mr. Chairman, members, Randy Perry with Aaron Reed and Associates on behalf of PORAC and the California Association of Highway Patrol and support.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Ivan Altamura with Capital Advocacy on behalf of the California Statewide Law Enforcement Association in support.
Additional witnesses in support of this measure.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Ryan Sherman on behalf of the LA County Professional Peace Officers, Long Beach and Santa Ana Police Officers Associations, Sacramento Deputy Sheriffs, and the California Fraternal Order of Police, all in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support of this item. Witnesses in opposition. Seeing none, we'll move this item. Oh, sorry, Finance.
We don't have a position, but we note that this bill could result in general fund costs that may have otherwise been avoided due to compassionate release or medical parole of inmates no longer eligible for these programs under this bill.
Right. Thank you. Without objection, we will move this bill to the suspense file. Senator Mitchell's here. Senator Mitchell, please come forward. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. You have members, this is SB 316. Senator Mitchell, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is a candidate for suspense, but I appreciate the opportunity to present it. And again, I'm presenting SB Bill 316, a bill that ensures that dependency court attorneys can properly serve the foster care children they are appointed to represent. As you know, Mr. Chair, there are about 75,000 children in foster care in California. Each is represented by a court-appointed attorney who is charged with the sole responsibility of advocating on behalf of their child's safety, protection, and physical and emotional well-being. For a child in foster care who's been removed from his or her home because of physical or emotional abuse or neglect, having a competent and dedicated attorney is critical. A child's attorney may be in the best position to prevent other horrific outcomes. Through the dependency court, the state makes decisions that have huge implications on the child's life and future, such as whether the child will ever return to his or her parents, be placed with siblings, where and with whom he or she will live, and what services he or she will receive. In 2008, A California Judicial Council study concluded that the basic caseload standard where the attorney is supported by a social work investigator should be a maximum of 188 child clients, while the optimal is 77. Excuse me, it's not that it should be 188, that 188 is what their current caseload is, and the optimal is 77. Yet in California, overwhelming caseloads make it impossible for the dependency court-appointed attorneys to properly serve their child clients. In LA County, where the largest number of foster children in the state are served, the average dependency court's caseload is 300 children per lawyer. In 15 of California's counties, the caseloads are even higher than that of Los Angeles. SB 316 will ensure that counsel representing a child or non-minor dependent would not have a caseload that exceeds the ideal of 77 clients unless that counsel has the assistance of a social worker or investigator on a half-time or more than half-time basis, and that counsel's caseload could never exceed 188. In reviewing the committee's analysis, we noted an issue with the fiscal impact. The $33.1 million cost is the same number that the Chief Justice asked for in the budget last year that would bring the entire dependency court system down to the 177 caseload number. This bill is only putting a cap on the child's counsel, which only represents half of the total dependency courts. So we think the $33 million is an overreach. Today I have here with me Ed Howard with Children's Advocacy Institute to testify in support of the bill.
Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Mr. Chairman, members, Ed Howard, Senior Counsel for the Children's Advocacy Institute at the University of San Diego School of Law. Thank you for your time. It is an enormous challenge to try and communicate how important this is to California's 70,000 foster children. One way to think about what 300 clients feels like is imagine walking into your staff person's office and seeing 300 bill binders. Even if they were all spot bills, you would immediately recognize that that is impossible. And here we are talking about the lives of abused and neglected children. We are very fond in this building of talking about how foster children are our children. If we allowed such an analogous circumstance to exist in a family, we would remove that child from the care of their parents. This is child abuse of people and children who have already been horribly abused. If they are our children, and they are, because there's nobody else to look after them other than us, and if we have a moral obligation to do right by our children, and we do, and if every law that you pass and every program that you fund is one way or another contingent upon whether or not there is a lawyer at the end of the day who has more than, I don't know, 5 minutes to talk to an abused and neglected child before the most important court proceeding in their lives, until you have somebody on the ground who can enforce those laws with a three-dimensional understanding of that child, then none of the laws that you pass and none of the programs that we fund matter. These are children. We will find money this year. New money will be spent. And whether this, the most important piece of the foster care puzzle, is funded to a minimal moral degree, will tell us everything we need to know about who we are and how we treat these children. I implore you to vote for this coming off of suspense. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, John Lovell on behalf of the California College and University Police Chiefs and the California Narcotic Officers Association. Effective delivery of services to foster children is a fundamental public safety issue. Successes yield good results, and those good results result in ultimate general fund savings. This is the quintessence of a good sense bill, and we commend the author for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Finance.
The Department of Finance is opposed to this bill because it results in significant additional general fund costs that are not included in the administration's current fiscal plan. We do, however, note that the governor's budget included $103.7 million general fund to support court-appointed dependency counsel workload, and that the governor is committed to working with the Judicial Council to explore ways to reduce the number of cases per attorney.
Thank you. comments or questions from committee? Seeing none, Senator Mitchell, would you like to close on your senatorial red outfit?
Oh, my dear chair, thank you so much. I would just say that I appreciate that we're in the fiscal committee, and so I won't go into the details of the merit of reducing the caseload, but I will say, again, the Chief Justice found this issue such that it warranted her making a specific request for the dependency court last year. We appreciate what the governor has done in terms of reinvesting in a court system that we have defunded to dangerous levels over the past several years during our fiscal crisis. I was hoping that through our fiscal committee we could come to or be informed about a number about what this would cost, but again, the $33 million doesn't capture the more narrow focus of this bill. We have received some expressions of concerns from parents who would be included in the $33 million, but who we have not covered because we are only talking about counsel to the kids. Everyone deserves a right to counsel, as we all know, in every court proceeding, but in this instance, when children are in the Child Welfare Services Department, counsel is critical to make sure that their needs are being met. We've heard bills this last week, a whole package of bills on the overuse and abuse of mental health related drugs, drug therapy, and drugs for kids in foster care. It's through their counsel that their rights are protected in instances such as that. So we ask that this committee take serious consideration in terms of our responsibility to provide counsel to children who are in our care, and I'd ask for your favorable consideration when you take up the suspense calendar.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Without objection, Senator Bell.
I'm on the Public Safety Budget Subcommittee, and this issue came up. The request for the Judicial Council was for general programs was $140 million, and they didn't include this. They kept this a separate item, so we're kind of looking at making sure that they're all considered together. This is folded into the general request that they're making for not just give them the general request, but include this also. So we want to have this folded in and not considered like some kind of standalone, separate item that has to kind of fight for itself out there. We want it included in their general request. So we declined to approve their budget in the committee and are holding that item open in the subcommittee.
And I would just say, I get that strategy, Senator Bell. Last year it was approved by both houses, and I believe was lost in conference. And my assumption, I haven't talked to her, but my assumption is that the justice called it out in her request last year to really highlight the dangerous status of this caseload. I don't think that she pulled it out to separate it or make it vulnerable to veto, which is ultimately what happened. But I think it was pulled out because it's probably one of the most heinous areas of lack of representation in our overall court system, not just dependency court. So I appreciate the action being taken on behalf of the Budget Subcommittee. I think it's very, very critical that this area be funded.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Without objection, this item will be moved to the suspense file.
Thank you.
Next, we see Senator Monning, and then we'll have Senator Jackson, then Senator Stone. Senator Monning, please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Senate Bill 489 authorizes the Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, to designate solar photovoltaic modules classified as hazardous to be designated as universal waste for purposes of its regulations and proper waste management. Currently, DTSC lacks this state authorization, and upon approval by the U.S. EPA, DTSC does intend to reintroduce its regulations. A universal waste designation provides flexibility to develop more effective and cost-effective methods of handling photovoltaic modules. As the analysis points out, the regulatory costs are minor because most of the work is complete. Also, the state-mandated program created by new regulatory violations is under the existing universal waste laws that locals would be familiar implementing. With that, I would respectfully ask your aye vote, and I think we have a witness in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Witnesses in support.
Jessica Lee on behalf of Sierra Club California in support of SB 489.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support. Come on down.
Sylvia Solis Shaw on behalf of the California Product Stewardship Council in support.
Viviana Becerra on behalf of First Solar in strong support.
Additional witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Finance.
We believe that the costs would be absorbable by the department.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the committee? There's a motion by Senator Bell. Comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to the Senate floor. Lara?
Aye.
Lara, aye. Bates? Bates, aye. Bell? Bell, aye. Hill? Hill, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. Mendoza? Nielsen?
Thank you, Ceremony. We'll keep that roll.
Thank you,
open.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Senator Jackson. Members, this is item SB 612 by Senator Jackson. It's a suspense candidate. Senator Jackson, please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. This is a suspense candidate, but barely so, so I just wanted to present on the bill very briefly. This bill is the third and likely, and I will say hopefully, final technical bill I have carried that updates and clarifies health and safety code sections dealing with business plans for hazardous waste that certified unified program agencies, known as CUPAs, are charged with overseeing. This year, SB 612 brings clarity and consistency on certain issues affecting a broader range of programs that are overseen by CUPAs that have been identified by a working group of CUPAs with input from all the stakeholders. And I would like to emphasize these have been collaborative efforts. Key provisions of this bill would provide clear authority for the agencies to inspect and regulate things like used oil collection centers. This is all very, very sexy stuff. But it will also increase environmental protection by closing gaps and harmonizing the relationships between the Above-Ground Petroleum Storage Act, the Underground Storage Tank Act, and the Hazardous Waste Control Act. It also clarifies duties of owners and operators under the Accidental Release Prevention Program, and it makes the due process provisions of existing local agency administrative enforcement for the Medical Waste Management Act the same as due process for other organizations under these CUPAs. The intent of the bill is to enhance program compliance for regulated businesses, which they are anxious to participate in as well, and to ensure that the programs modified by this bill run efficiently and effectively while maintaining public health, safety, and environmental protections. The analysis indicates that the state fire marshal has identified first-year costs of $150,000 and $100,000 annually thereafter, hence barely meeting the suspense threshold. But we will be working with the state fire marshal while the bill is on suspense to try to reduce those costs. And we have witnesses today who can help answer any questions on this fascinating subject.
Witnesses in support of the measure.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Russell Nowak on behalf of the California Fire Chiefs Association. As the Senator has indicated, we have been part of the collaborative stakeholder effort to really update, improve, and enforce the CUPA system for the last several years. And this bill is just the latest in that series of bills to actively get really improve emergency response in local areas for releases. And we endorse this bill. And we'll work obviously with the fire marshal on any costs associated with it.
Thank you. Additional witnesses.
Jessica Lee on behalf of Sierra Club California in support of SB 612.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Finance.
No file.
No file. Members, is there any comments or questions from committee members? Seeing none, Senator Jackson, would you like to close?
just simply ask for your consideration, and hopefully we'll be able to reduce the amount. But this is an important measure when we're dealing with environmental emergencies. And again, it is a collaborative effort with all the stakeholders, and we've been able to work with them very successfully and hope to continue doing so.
Thank you. Without objection, this bill will move to the suspense file. Senator Stone. Members, this is file item 666 by Senator Stone. It's on candidate for suspense, naturally. Go ahead, Senator Stone.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, fellow colleagues, committee members. SB 666 is really a very simple measure. California law clearly states that a person has been previously convicted of a felony and has been confined in a prison in the state of California cannot enter the grounds of any prison camp, or jail in the state. With the passage of AB 109, there exists a loophole in current law. The statute does not exclude a person who's been previously convicted of a felony and has been confined in a county jail. The statute is also silent about those who have been convicted of a felony in a different state, or if they've been confined in a federal prison upon conviction of a felony. SB 666 closes the loophole in current law by stating that, in addition to current law, no one that has been previously convicted of a felony and served time in a county jail, a prison in another state, or in a federal prison will be allowed on the grounds of a prison camp, or jail in the state of California. While I feel that while the policy is important, the costs to the state are de minimis. By using the Department of Corrections' own numbers, the estimated number of people who will be admitted to state prison will be minimal, most likely costing less than $150,000. We feel that the public safety concerns of the bill greatly outweigh the costs, and hope that the bill moves off suspense when the appropriate time comes. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. So witnesses in support of the measure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Ryan Sherman on behalf of the Los Angeles County Professional Peace Officers Association and the Sacramento Deputy Sheriff's Association. We're very supportive of this legislation because we believe it'll help keep drugs and other contraband and information out of the county jails and flowing back and forth onto the streets. So we support the measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support.
John Lovell on behalf of the Association for LA Deputy Sheriffs, Riverside Sheriffs Association, LA Police Protective League, California Narcotic Officers Association, all in support of this good sense piece of code maintenance, and we commend the author for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Finance.
No file.
No file. Members, questions or comments from the committee? Seeing and hearing none. Senator Song, would you like to close?
Thank you. I appreciate your consideration.
Looking very dapper in your senatorial red as well.
Thank you very much.
It's a candidate for suspense. Without objection, we will move this bill to suspense. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. We're waiting. Sergeants, we can call Senator Pan and Senator Canella. Members, we're going to go back to the agenda and continue to work our file. We're going to go with Senator Wolk's SB 555. Any witnesses in support of this measure? Witnesses, are you in support? Come on down. Senator Wolk. Go ahead.
California on support of SB 555.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support. Witnesses in opposition. Finance.
The Department of Water Resources estimates this bill would result in $400,000 one-time general fund costs and approximately $150,000 to $200,000 ongoing for implementation and annual review of water loss audits.
Thank you. Comments or questions? We're going to move this bill to suspense. Moving to SB 707, Senator Wolk.